hold on. Tim. I don't know if you know this. I've seen a lot of shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club podcast. My name is Ryan Malo. We hope you enjoy today's movie discussion. Thanks for listening.
Hey, welcome to the BTB Movie Club. My name is Tim Larson. This is the BTB light version. We are starting out with only four of us. We have myself, Brian Larson, Ryan Malo, and SPDM crew himself, Mike Hilty. We may or may not be joined by Sneaky Dan Sears. That's why he's got the nickname. You never know what that character is going to do. We are here to discuss 2025, just out May 23rd, 2025's documentary Pee-wee as himself, directed by Matt Wolf. And this is part of the series of picks that did not get put into our contest, but everybody picked three movies, and so we're still trying to guess at the end of each show who picked the movie. It's going to be very entertaining with only four of us here. But the complication is the person who is supposed to direct this conversation is Matt Smith, and he's not here. So just going down to the next person in line, that would be Mike Wilden. He's not here. So we'll go to the next person in line. That would be Aaron Lashbrook, also not here. So defaulting to lead this conversation, maybe ironic, maybe not, we don't know, is the man himself, Mike Hilty. Mike, take it away.
Why is it ironic? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I said it may be. It may not be. We'll find out at the end of the show.
Okay.
Could be foreshadowing. Could not be foreshadowing. We don't know.
You know what, Tim? Why don't you take it away? What did you think of Pee-wee as himself? Oh, first of all, let's start with this.
Sure.
What is your background with Pee-wee Herman?
Yes, that's a good lead-in question.
I know, that's why I asked it. So
could not stand him. I think I saw. I should have looked this up. Does anybody offhand know what year Pee-wee's Big Adventure came out?
87.
87. That sounds right. I think I was in high school.
That's actually not true. I have no idea.
It's okay. That seems right though, because I think I remember
right
watching
there, 89 maybe. Hang on.
I was going to say 89.
85. Yeah, 85 actually.
Really?
Oh, 85.
Wow.
So I'm still in maybe 7th, 8th grade there. I saw it and I just kind of didn't care for it. And then he was everywhere. And I did kind of enjoy this part of the documentary where he discussed like how much of he wanted to be out there himself and how much he wanted to just be the character and let the character kind of take over. I think that got eventually to an unhealthy place, but as far as trying to become the popular artist that he wanted, it was helpful. So there's the real trick in this documentary. So Pee-wee's Playhouse, I never watched a single episode and I never wanted to. So he was just an annoying character to me. Although it wasn't like I'd be like, "Oh, I hate this guy." I just didn't care for it.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that this was coming up, I kind of like put it off because I was like, I'm just not in the mood for this. And my initial reaction, the biggest thing I have to say about it is it's kind of slow. The music they put in there is real like slow, moody music, and a lot of that conversation I just kind of think you could do without. I think you could tell the story without having as much time as happens here. But I also got the feeling like there were a lot of internal struggles making this thing, and I don't feel like a great sleuth for figuring that out. They said it out loud. But I think that he, like, he wanted to have his finger on it. And I think Matt Wolf was like, I don't know that we need to do this. And they somehow found the middle or leaned in the direction of what Paul wanted, especially after he passed away out of respect. I'm sure he wanted to respect his wishes. So for me, that made it long. It made it slow. And I think it's probably because he Paul wanted to have his own version and his own story, and I think he probably had a hard time editing himself in the process. Um, that's my first reaction. I did really enjoy stuff that I didn't know, learning about the group he was in, and the Phil Hartman stuff. I had no idea that those guys worked together, and that he was that close to being on Saturday Night Live and didn't make it, and Phil Hartman did, and all the resentment stuff. That was kind of fascinating to me. I like the story of the characters and how they came to fruition and his drive, and it's a success story. And then it just kind of, there's no fall off a cliff to it not being a success story, but just kind of a slow unraveling, unfortunate incident after incident. And for that reason, I don't know that I ever watched this again, but I enjoyed at the end of it having watched it. But I definitely would change several things if somebody put me in charge of editing. Just kind of went on too long.
Yeah, I tend to agree a little bit. This did this have to be two parts? Did this have to be as long as it was? Admittedly, there was a lot of good footage, and I'm sure that there's tons more that they did not use. I think they mentioned that they talked to him for Paul Rubens for a long time, but they left probably a lot of that on the cutting room floor. So, two questions for you, Tim, as the leader of this group. How many documentaries have you all watched?
We haven't watched a single one.
Okay, so
This is the
here's a
first, which kind of cool.
so here's a question for you. Have you seen a lot of documentaries, and what are your favorite subjects for documentaries?
Ooh, um, I would say the subject doesn't matter. There's some great stuff out there as long as the story is intriguing, you know. And I mean, I'm just complaining about the editing here, but I think if they put together a good story for you, it's the subject doesn't matter at all. One of my favorites is a real early 30 for 30 on ESPN. Um, Maybe their first one. I don't know if it was their first one, but it was Argentina, the soccer player and the drug lord.
Hmm.
Does anybody know what I'm talking about here? They both had the same
Yes,
last name. Oh, what the hell
Noriega?
is
Maradona.
No,
Mendoza? No, that's a
I'm
city.
just throwing names out.
Talking about Messi.
Um, what's that, Mela?
Lionel Messi was Argentina,
No,
right?
it was way back
Okay,
in the
yeah,
70s
no
or
idea.
80s.
Pele.
This is why Matt should be here. This is why Matt should be here. Uh, we'll we'll get that in post. Um,
Oh,
but that one was
Promise?
really really good. And the thing
No.
about it, it's
Martinez.
literally all Spanish. Like you have to read the captions the whole time. And at first I was like, come on, but you get past it, and that one was pretty fascinating. I also love one that they shot in Rockford, Illinois, called "Minding the Gap" or "Mind the Gap." It's about a bunch of skateboard guys who they were shooting their own skateboard videos, and one of them just kind of turned himself into a director. And I think he won some awards for this thing. It was just like an independent thing that he put together, and it was really, really good. Mind the Gap or Minding the Gap, skateboarders in Rockford. So they're real hit or miss. I think documentaries are,
Hmm.
but if somebody does it right, they can be real, real captivating. I mean, it's kind of the best of reality TV, really.
True, true. And then last question for you. Taking the whole premise of Pee Wee as himself, take Pee Wee out, and who would you put in a documentary that you'd like kind of a similar style where you just get to know this person in a more intimate manner just to kind of see a little bit more of their life story? Because you're right, there's been a lot of shows, a lot of different things that have done something like this similarly, but I guess is there anybody out there that you'd love to see a documentary about just to get to know them a little bit better?
That's a boy. I almost feel like I need some time. The first thing that jumps out in my mind is Prince, because he never let you know what was going on in his life. Like he only let you know what he wanted you to see.
Hmm.
So some of that stuff would be pretty fascinating. After he died, some stuff came out. So you could catch up on some of it, but if somebody went out of their way to make that documentary, before he died and he was there to talk through it, that'd be pretty amazing. But I'll hang on to that, and I'll try and think of an actor, because I'm sure there's a couple of them that would be pretty fascinating.
Got it. All right. Uh, Swinging around to Melo. Melo, what did you think of Pee Wee as himself?
Yeah, so I
Or
actually I
actually,
want to start, well,
actually, yeah, let's start with that. Your background at first with Pee Wee Herman.
yeah. So um hey, Wilden. All right, jumping in. Love it.
And
Uh Good to have you, man.
thank you.
Uh
So we did make
I'm a
quorum.
little
Cool.
I'm a little younger than
We can
Tim
vote.
and Brian and Aaron, and obviously way younger than Dan. And so I did wonder about that, like what, because I think even so here it was a funny thing. So I was born in '78, and I wrote Pee Wee is as old as me, because they showed him the first time when he was doing the groundling stuff was '78, which is crazy to me that it was actually that old. Um, so by the time it was really mainstream, I was a little old for it, or as far as like the kids show portion of it. Like I was actually, I think, at a good age where you could kind of get both sides, because there was definitely there was a lot more innuendo in the stage show, which I never knew about until later. Um, but it was one of the, there's that stuff where um, you kind of pick up on it a little bit as you're, I don't know, whatever, 10, 12, 13. You start picking up on some of the other layers that are in certain media, if it's there. So um, I, I always liked overall what he was doing. I definitely understood and could feel annoyed or just like, all right, this isn't for me with a lot of it. Um, but I don't know. Ultimately, I guess kind of appreciated it. And watching this really helped me appreciate it a lot more. I thought I thought he was really, really funny. I thought I really appreciate both sides of it. So like he would do the especially when he's in character, or even not. Like later they showed like after certain incidents, and he was going on interviews as Paul Rubens, and he would do the whole like basking in the applause and like asking for more, and some of that it can be a fine line, but I thought in granted it's the editing, but what they chose always fell on the side of favorable to me. Like I got that and found it funny. I didn't find it was self-serving ultimately, but not in a way that was negative. Like it was a way that was knowing, and because so was kind of fun. Um, and then acting background and all that stuff. I liked learning about the um, performance art side of things. Most of that is no good. It just it really isn't. But the willingness to take the chance and to go out there and put yourself out there and find some of those things, I think is really cool. The let me see some of the notes. Like so, right from the beginning. I was going to say, so the over the top stuff of Pee Wee himself, but then the subtleness of a lot of the stuff. Like the very first question they ask him is about his parents or whatever. He's like, yeah, he was born in 1939. He was a steamboat captain. Like I just thought that was really funny. Um, I thought it was hilarious that he and his sister, who had their different, I don't know, they were not stereotypical, and the whole like youth Halloween costumes where he was a princess and she was a lumberjack. I thought was really, really funny. Um, he did it several times, or the way they cut it up was really well done. It might have been all in the same day. I don't know, but where he kept going back and forth with well, this is really what I think, or do I? And maybe I don't. Like those moments, they resonated. Like I thought they were pretty good. And if you don't agree with me, you're wrong. Like, and I think the reason that they work is because they're self-aware, but they're also true. Like he talked about being very guarded, and like I think that stuff um, works. The whole list of all the different actors and everybody from the Groundlings and all of that. Katie Seagal, David Hasselhoff, uh, Phil Hartman, Elvira, which Cassidy something, forgive me. But anyway, Lorraine Newman, John Paragon, like all these different, and then Lawrence Fishburne, Cowboy Curtis, like it was interesting. This is a lot of folks that did a lot of really good and creative things at that time. The other things I wrote, so I like to decorate. Whatever that suggests to you, go ahead and make those connections. There was a lot of that. There was a one, where was it, when he was on Conan? Man, I laughed out loud really, really hard. Because he asked him after his role in Blow about being a bisexual hairdresser. He said, what kind of research did you have to do? He's like, well, I knew how to cut hair a little bit. Like,
yeah,
they were having a good time with it. And I appreciated that. I could steal focus from the best of them. I thought that was a really good line. So I found this very interesting. Along the lines of documentaries, I've watched a lot of the Ken Burns stuff and love, pretty much everything that he's done. Really looking forward to the Revolutionary War stuff that he's got coming out. And so with this, it's a little different for this group. Number one, haven't done a documentary. Number two, by default, it's not a film, right? It's not a 2 hour piece. It's longer, and it could have been even longer. And so that's just a little different dynamic. But I took a fair amount of notes, but not really compared to how long this is. A lot of it I just kind of watched and enjoyed the ride. When they show the development of the character and the live action and all of that, and he's doing the scream while he's throwing out the Tootsie Rolls and stuff, all of that just cracked me up. I found it as a lot of fun. I liked his whole take of, I grew up in this time period and had all these different influences on me, and so I wanted to create a character that kind of encapsulated all of that and have fun with that and bring joy. Like he had a line at the end. I think it was the day before he died, in that recording he had, where he talks about wanting to create joy and bring glee, to people, and he definitely did that. The Pee-wee flying scene, hilarious, and the fact that it was from a live thing. It wasn't special effects or anything. It was literally him with in black with a puppet on him, and the luckiest boy in the world. All that stuff was a lot of fun. I thought it was really interesting, actually, that I mentioned earlier. There was so much, like, in a live show for adults at an improv theater, there's all this innuendo and everything, and it makes so much sense, and it really works. And especially with a character who is geared toward kids and innocence and all of that, and then you throw that in, that makes a lot of sense and is really, really funny. But to then actually put that into a kids show, like a genuine kids show, and kind of have some of that in there still, and even more than that, like when they talked about the Christmas show, and he was making a joke about fruitcake, but the construction workers, there's the all that innuendo is really interesting. So there, all of that to say, um, I found it very interesting. I found it very entertaining. I appreciated the creativity and all of the negative headlines and all of those things I remember, but in the periphery. Like it was never like I was very, what's going on? Who is this person? How could that happen? It was just like, that's a weird headline, crazy. And to hear this side of it, and to see the actual, quote unquote evidence or whatever it um, was kind of enlightening too. So, yeah, I appreciated this documentary.
Cool. Seeing as you at least at minimum tolerate Pee Wee, unlike somebody else here in the, you know, in the chat right now, was there anything that you wish that they would have gone a little bit more in depth on? Because there's some things that they spend a lot of time on, like the early parts of his career, spend a long time talking about, um, the Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But was there anything in particular that you were like, I wish they would have focused or done a little bit more with this as opposed to it being like a couple minutes long?
No, and it didn't feel really long to me. Like I said, like I was able to compartmentalize because it was this structure as a documentary. I actually felt they probably, like Tim said, they probably could have done, it could have been 3 or 4 episodes. Um, I, I just, I don't have nothing to base this off of other than it seemed, because they showed this several times in different ways, that they wanted, and rightfully so, they wanted to honor his wishes in control and all of that, and he had some issues with that. I wonder what didn't make it. I just wonder where they decided this is interesting, but for the sake of his feelings or what he would have wanted, or his legacy, we'll just leave this out. um I don't know. Yeah, I thought like the whole, the friends he had. It was, was it 2 movies ago we watched Empire Records?
It was last week, wasn't it? Debbie Mazur 2 weeks in a row.
I don't even. It was within
I
the
think I
last 2
missed
weeks.
last
That's
week.
for sure.
Yeah. So that's what I was gonna say. Like I had, yeah,
Yeah, Debbie Mazur 2 weeks in a row was not on the bingo card.
Yeah.
But it was cool to hear their side of things, the assistant, like all of that stuff. So I don't know. I didn't find anything overtly lacking. I'm sure there are things that had I, like were I to become privy to, I'd be like, oh, I wish that was in there, but nothing stands out to me as glaring as like, man, I really wish we dug into this more.
So
Last week's was Mike's pick, the horror movie, the one about sound.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of it, but the week before was Empire Records.
Quiet Place.
Quiet Place. Thank you. Carry on.
The one about sound.
That one with the not sound.
Lack of sound.
Belo, do you watch a lot of documentaries? And if so, or if like what are particular subjects that interest you most about documentaries?
So most of the documentaries I watch are Ken Burns. And so the subject matter is dictated by what he wants to put out there. But if you guys aren't familiar, haven't seen any, fantastic. The Civil
The Civil War
War,
one, the baseball one is
baseball.
amazing.
Yeah,
One's
exactly. I haven't watched the country music
Oh.
one yet, which I want to.
Talk about stuff that goes on forever, though. Whew.
Yeah, yeah. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I fall asleep sometimes and then come back to it.
He's just got amazing. He
Mhm.
keeps you engaged the whole time, though. That's
Ben Franklin. I just watched that one not too long ago. So those are most of them. I've still never watched. The band has one. I've almost made that one of my recommendations for this group. I'm trying to think of what other
Is that the one,
documentaries.
the concert one, The Last Waltz?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of anything that I'm sure there's some stuff out there. So I don't know, here and there, there's definitely been a lot that I've watched. I don't necessarily seek them out, but when they lend themselves, to being available, I do enjoy that type of storytelling, and I think I like it a lot more than the based on a true story because there's a lack of ambiguity,
Mhm.
and I appreciate that. Like it, at least I know what's going on. I don't know. I don't have to guess what liberties they were taking.
And then, final question for you: if there is somebody that you would like to see have a similar documentary made about him, the same way that this was made about Pee Wee, who would you want to have that documentary about?
Yeah, I thought about that. I didn't write anything down. I was trying to think of it when you asked Tim, so I could be prepared. And the first thing that came to mind, and I couldn't, I still can't wrap my head around it exactly, but the whole grunge music scene was very impactful for me, and I would love to. I think I know a fair amount about it, but I would enjoy a deep dive into some of that.
Nice, good call.
I did think of one,
Okay.
and maybe you'll think of one while somebody else is talking. I got some free mind space there. Robin Williams would be a
Oh.
great documentary.
I want to watch
Yeah,
the new John Candy one.
the
Speaking
new
of,
John Candy
Oh, for
one
God's sakes, John Candy. Yeah.
is amazing. And if you grew up in the 80s, it's gonna break your heart. Not because
yeah,
he lived like this horrendous life or anything like that. It's because he didn't and is very much still beloved. And yeah, that's great, great doc. So good call out for that and the Robin Williams one too. All right. Thanks, Melo. Brian, hello.
Yes, sir.
How's it going?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. Um, so question for you. Who sang the song Come On Oh, just kidding. So question for you. What is your background with Pee Wee Herman?
I remember Pee Wee Herman from back when he first came around. I, for some reason, had it backwards. So I thought the Pee Wee Playhouse kids show was first, and then the movie came out. So that's just my lack of chronological remembrance, I guess.
Hmm.
But I remember, throwing out the, with the buddies at school and stuff, and doing the
you
funny voice. Nope, not doing it again.
Can you do it again, please?
No, no.
Maybe we'll edit it a couple
Tim-
of times.
yeah, right.
Maybe it'll
Yeah,
come.
we'll-
It'll come
Just
around.
put it
Yeah.
on
Put it
loop.
on a loop.
Anytime that we're ready to transition from one person to another.
Ah, 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 ah. I do remember the movie and enjoying it. I did not remember that Tim Burton did it,
Mm.
and how
This is
crazy it is.
early
Yeah.
Tim Burton.
I didn't know that either. That
27.
was. I did not
I
know
did.
that either.
Now, didn't Frankenweenie? Didn't they do a claymation movie on that also? It was based on the short. Okay.
Mhm.
Anyway, not to get off the Pee Wee subject, but anyways, how though he's like, I didn't get enough credit for this. It's like, yeah, Tim Burton's a genius, and I don't know what you were gonna get out of it. You got, your writing credit, but yes, no one knew it was you, Paul Rubens. I forgot. I remember the incident in the adult theater, and I
Mm.
thought that's what everyone was mad at him about. For some reason, I don't remember the pedophile part, or not pedophile, but child pornography,
I don't either.
because they didn't really call him in the news. They didn't say he was a pedophile. They just said in possession of child pornography, and I had kind of had the feeling that Wolf, the director of this documentary, finished it without his permission, basically, since he passed away, because it seemed like some of the conversations that they were talking about when he avoided. He didn't really talk about the pornography charges. They didn't really talk about it in the theater too much. And just my thought is it's kind of a cop out, because to say, oh, we were scheduled to do it, and then he died. Because if you look at him in these interviews, he doesn't look sickly at all.
Right.
He doesn't look like he's skinnier. And then they started showing some pictures of him at the end where where the cancer had gotten to him. So I think there was a little bit of shenanigans involved in this. And they went and got the Deb Mazers and the Arquettes and his assistant and added them to it to kind of fill in those final blanks and defend him, which is what they did. I mean, there was a stretch where I was really into bodybuilding, and I could have had a collection that looked like his on some of those physique magazines. So I had Flex and Muscle and Fitness and bodybuilding magazines. But it's just one of those. They didn't seem like the one magazine that they pushed in front of them. That was the one that it did look like there was a younger kid in it, but it was a fitness magazine.
Yeah.
So it's the fitness magazine's people's fault
Yeah.
that they used this young person on it. It was just part of a collection. So it was just seemed a really strange thing.
I have to share a funny story about me and Brian here, a little inside information. I went to visit you at one point after I had moved out here, and you had some videos from a fitness guy who you were really like a big fan of, and his name was Jay Cutler.
Mhm.
And I didn't know he was a fitness guy, so I was like, God, he really likes that quarterback from Denver. That's really an odd choice to have like all these videos of him. And then he went to the Bears, and I was like, well, I don't know how Brian feels about that. That his favorite quarterbacks for the Bears. I was, I was confused for a long time until I think I saw an actual magazine that had the guy's picture and his name and what he was doing. I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense.
Yeah, that was I remember when you were like, for years, I thought you liked a quarterback. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah. I
he
was
got
like,
me some
it's
fantasy points. So
right. Yeah, it's like Brian likes weird things, man.
that is true too. Um, but and admittedly, so I don't watch a lot of documentaries. This one I did find interesting with the process of how Pee Wee Herman was created. And he was, could you imagine if that Native American character had
Oh God.
caught on? We wouldn't be having this documentary right
We
now.
Yeah.
no, we would
Yeah.
not.
And Gong Show, I mean, that was hilarious. I was there, really? He's on the Gong Show winning,
Yeah.
making noises?
Yeah.
But that was
Now
the Gong Show.
I think we got to ask this. I mean, how many of you guys know the Gong Show? Like, did you know that like Mike and Mike, did you guys know that existed?
Yes.
I knew of it.
You knew of it.
I didn't really know anything about it.
70s were a weird time, man.
Isn't that the Sam Rockwell movie though, too, where it was about the host
Yeah,
of
I
the
haven't
Gong
seen
Show?
that. Yeah,
I
where
haven't
he's
either.
supposed to escape
Oh,
the
and he
CIA
plays that
guy.
dude. Okay.
He's like, because he says he's a spy, a super assassin, or something like that.
That's
Anyways,
right.
um, no, it was very interesting to me to see the creative process on him and how he grew up. And turned just this idea that he turned a comedy troupe, a relatively unknown one that had some popular people out of it, and turned that into just making a movie, into a TV show. And it did seem like he generally wanted to do something creative that kids would like, that they learned something out of. There was no, you know, I wouldn't actually say the claymation Penny was a feminist, but I mean, there was ideas like that that they were, showing to kids, and that kids of different color can hang out and be friends, and everybody could have a good time. And it was just, it seemed like a show that I wouldn't mind my kid watching. But I also understand why CBS had to do what they did when everything happened. And one of the funniest things that I laughed out loud of was when they were doing the protest out in front of CBS. One of the guys had a sign that said, "CBS, don't jerk off Pee Wee Herman." It's like, well done, well done.
Very nice. Yeah.
But yeah, I do think, like I said, I think the director took some liberties with the passing. It did go too long. You did ask the question, like, was there anything else you would on to hear about him to develop? I don't think there could be, because he covered pretty much everything.
Hmm.
So, uh, but yeah, I really good pick, Hilty. And I think I know what happened, and I will express my feelings on that when we go around on the guessing part at the end.
Okay. Um, hmm.
The Office is my favorite documentary that I've seen.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good call for that. Um, so Ryan, you've watched your fair amount of movies and TV. What's your favorite non-Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubin performance?
You know, I would have to go with Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yep.
And I did forget that he was Penguin's father in Batman Returns.
He was also Penguin's father in Gotham.
Gotham, yes.
Yeah,
That's
So I
Tim Burton
did.
too, right? Is Batman
it is.
Returns still Tim
Batman
Burton?
Returns is Tim Burton, yeah.
Interesting.
Besides that, there wasn't a lot that I remember him being in
Hmm.
as Paul Rubens. But Buffy was one that kind of got him back in Hollywood, I believe, correct?
After the incident, yes,
Yes. Yeah.
yes.
And I did think it was funny when he said that he wanted his character to look exactly like his mugshot, or as close to as it could be.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, that's like steering into the
That's
curve.
that's a choice, buddy. That's a choice. Um, all right. And then final question for you. If there was somebody that you would love to see a documentary about, kind of in the same style, who would it be about?
Because of the idea where the comedian and the process of creating a character, and we all know my love of comic book characters, there's got to be a comic book creator. And I was trying to come up with one because I have seen, there's a really good one, Bob Kane and Bill Finger, talking about Batman. I think it would be the creators of Superman, Jerry Siegel and Schuster, because that story and the lawsuit and everything involved in that, would like to be have more knowledge on. The Stanley I've seen, the image creators, Todd McFarlane, I've seen a lot of theirs. So I would have to go with the creators of Superman.
Nice. All right. Cool. Circling back to Melo, did you think of somebody? Because Tim thought of his when you were talking, so I figured I'll circle back to you just in case.
Appreciate it. Not yet.
Cool.
I
Love
I
Not
have
Yet. Not Yet's a
I
good
have a
guy.
thought. You asked another role that he played. He was on Everybody Loves Raymond for like one episode. And he was a comic book store owner, and he was
Was.
Amy's brother.
Yeah.
Um, and that's when he had to get some kind of card for his daughter. I want to say I've watched these reruns too many times. He was looking for a scrammy sore, is what he was calling it. And Paul Rubens just does an amazing job in that episode, just being like, I don't like you, and I'm going to make you spend $500 in here to get this card. Really, really good role, really good episode. And then they replaced him, or he just didn't want to do it anymore with shit,
Chris Elliott.
Chris Elliott. Yeah, and Chris Elliott
That's
was great
funny.
too, but Paul Rubens in that
Yeah,
first episode was he crushed it.
I forgot that they changed out the character.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, he did a lot of just random one-off TV shows as well. Just
Well, they showed the one. What was that movie? The Ben Stiller. It
Mystery
was
Men.
almost like, yeah. It was
Yeah.
like Suicide Squad before that kind of thing, and that was hilarious. I remember watching that.
love
I
that movie.
saw it in the
Yeah.
theater.
Hi, Weldon. What's your background with Pee Wee Herman? Like, is this your first
don't
time?
really have one.
Yeah, I was. Okay.
Of course I've heard of them. We don't need to do that whole thing, but yeah, no, I didn't really know much about them. Don't really have a background with them. Documentary was interesting. I will say for a little while at first, I was kind of bored because I was like, I don't care. It doesn't. This isn't about anybody that I really thought about before. Okay, whatever. But good documentaries will get you to actually think about it if you pay attention. So I did end up, enjoying it. Um, I thought the name of the documentary, Pee Wee as himself, was rather appropriate just based on the fact that it was, Paul Rubens hiding behind the Pee Wee character and kind of like, there were the times like Mela was saying where he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't actually think that," or do I? No, I don't, but maybe I do. Who knows? It's like that's just a very, always kind of keeping guessing kind of thing. Um, I mean, it was really interesting. It was kind of fun seeing. I did think he seemed pretty genuine just about who he was. He wasn't trying to hide the fact, like it wasn't like he was like, "Oh, I don't have an ego." Like he was like, "Yeah, no, like fuck you, I did all of this." Um, and he was kind of cocky. I don't think it was necessarily overboard in, ways that were, sometimes that can obviously be too much, but it was just interesting and I enjoyed the fact that he was just kind of being genuine and it seemed he was being genuine there. Really enjoyed learning more about just the show and everything because like, okay, this is what this is about. So for me, not knowing any of this background, I'm like, okay, like I get more of this. And then I did really enjoy seeing like those little clips of all of his later roles, like we mentioned, Batman Returns and everything, and um all these different things he was in. It's like, okay, that's cool. I like that he kind of got that second act. Um, when it comes to the whole like child pornography charge and accusation and all of that, that one's in that's an interesting one because it kind of shows like kind of the trap of like that double-edged sword of what media can be today. um because on one hand there absolutely are times when the media will just take a story and run with it without really before there's any due process or anything like that. Um and that, I mean, that can ruin people's lives. And the way they portrayed it in this, that seemed like it was kind of that way. And he says it towards the end of the documentary. Kind of his last words basically is like, I don't like, that's what a horrible thing for like people to see you as. Like, I don't want anybody ever to think of that. Like, you can think whatever you want of me, but not that, because it's just not true. Especially, because he worked with kids and everything, and so like I kind of empathize with that, but at the same time, it's just we have this environment now where does anyone really know the truth? Like, was there something or wasn't there? In this case, it looked like, with all the magazines and everything, it's like, well, that's whatever. They're fitness magazines, like Brian was saying. But I don't know. It to me, it just kind of reminded me that like we're in this like just this media environment that kind of makes things very blurry without a real resolution a lot of times. And I don't know. I think that in itself sucks. But
Mike, can I jump in for a second?
absolutely.
Yeah. Um, since we're talking about this particular, didn't Jeffrey Jones, though, because they brought him up, he was guilty of this stuff, correct?
I thought they said
Sounds like
that,
it.
yeah.
So it's kind of like a guilt by association because he knew him, and the guy who turned in Jones turned him in too, is what I got from the documentary.
Or Jones
Yeah,
too, one
and
or the other.
yeah, and that's the I don't know. It's yeah, it just kind of sucks. Like I said, those things can ruin people's lives when they just go for it. The media just goes for it and
Right.
doesn't really have all the information. And that's just how it is. And it unfortunately makes it really hard to, when evidence does come out and, like, trials or whatever, like, take place. And, when everything's said and done, it's like, well, all right, damage has already been done because they just run with it. Um, and that whole, like I said, that whole environment just makes it very difficult to kind of wade through and find what the truth actually is a lot of times. I'm not commenting on Pee Wee specifically in this case, but just that as an example of that that media environment just being really shitty
Yeah.
these days and for a very long time.
Hey, I'd like to jump in here too, because as you guys have been talking, I've been looking stuff up. I should have wrote this down while I was watching this, but um, Pee-wee's Big Adventure comes out in 1985, and that's the first thing I remember. It's obvious that he was doing things, but I don't think he hit mainstream until that movie came out. The movie theater incident happened in 1991, so that's a short 6 years. I remember, I just felt like that was a longer time in between for those two things to happen. And then the accusation of child porn and pedophilia um, is 2002. So that's another 11 years after that. Um, and the one thing, Mike, I totally agree with you that media gets a hold of something and runs with it. And I mean, they just want the story. They could care less about somebody's actual life at that point.
Yeah.
Um, one when I started watching this documentary, one of the things I knew was going to be in here that I remembered more than anything was the MTV Awards where they had him open up the show and come out. And like you guys, we talked about a little bit like the rallies, for him, but like that moment for MTV to do that for him as a human being where the media had torn him apart, I thought was an amazing thing to do. And even though I didn't care much about this guy, I was like, that's a cool fucking thing to do. And MTV did a lot of stuff like that. And just worth noting today that this is the week that MTV died.
Mhm.
Um, is a pretty heavy weight for those of us who grew up in the 80s watching it all the time. But that was a moment where MTV absolutely did something 100% right. And I remember it to this day like it was yesterday, him walking out on the stage and saying, heard any good jokes lately, was just him being perfectly him
I didn't
in
hear
a
the news
tough
about
moment.
MTV. Did they pull the plug on the whole
Yeah, it's
channel
canceled.
They
or
It's
just
they
canceled?
they pulled the plug on all of MTV's music channels. I think MTV, as the trash reality
like the
receptacle that it
reality
is
thing. Yeah.
now, I think that's around here to stay. But if it has anything to do with music, it's
It's
they've
not going
shut
to
it
be on
off.
MTV
Yeah.
anymore. That
Yeah.
sucks.
It's well past time. I mean, they don't, it's not what it was in the 80s, but it's,
Never
yeah,
been
yeah,
MTV for a long
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But it's part of your childhood.
Um, well, yeah, that's kind of the point. It's like, I in this specific case, just though, what I saw from this documentary, and of course documentaries are gonna, tell the story they want to tell, but okay, from the message I got from this and what I see from this, I tend to think that he was, he's wrongly accused or at least overly accused or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I empathize with him being like, "Hey, what the hell? I, why do you have to put that title on me so quickly?" And then it doesn't matter when all the evidence comes out and all they're showing this like, okay, this whatever, it's a bunch of fitness magazines, who cares? I empathize with him on this specifically, and I think these things suck because there are a lot of times where the media gets it right because these things do happen and unfortunately kind of often. So again, it blurs that line. So in this case, it can ruin somebody's life with an accusation when you don't know is true or false. And then in other cases, it kind of gives a little bit of an out to somebody that can just deny, 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 unless, they've got hard proof on them. They can kind of get around it sometimes, and just because this system is set up the way it is. All right, I'll stop harping on that. I don't know. I was happy to learn more about this guy. I wouldn't have watched this if Hilty wouldn't have picked it. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's about all I've got.
Um, Wilden, does this make you want to go back and watch some more of the Pee Wee centric stuff, or is this like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Period.
I didn't. I didn't care about him before, really. I still
Mhm,
don't now. It was an interesting watch. It's
mhm.
an interesting talk, and then I'm done with it.
What kind of documentaries do you like to watch if you do watch documentaries or
Roll your eyes
docu-series?
all you, yeah, roll your eyes all you want. I watch a lot of pro wrestling documentaries. The pro wrestling industry has some of the best goddamn documentaries in the game.
Mhm,
So, whether you're talking about the Vice Dark Side of the Ring stuff, where it's just all the darkness behind that industry and all these different stories. Or, I mean, say what you will about WWE as a company, and I certainly will say some things, but they are like their production is first class, and so a lot of the documentaries they've made have been excellent. And then there's like the Netflix. There was that Netflix one on Vince McMahon a couple years ago. I haven't even finished that, but I saw an episode of that. I'm like, okay, yeah, that one was interesting because it was like there were a lot of people that aren't fans that were like, "Oh my God, look at all this like crazy, terrible, like mean, weird stuff he did." And people that knew him that are wrestling fans are like, "Why did they leave so much out?" Because there's that much more.
Yeah.
He's nuts. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the main way I go. I enjoy documentaries, so I just don't. Usually, when I start searching for them, I have no idea what I'm actually looking for, so I end up just
mhm.
watching something else.
Is there a particular person that you'd love to see a documentary about, kind of in the same style, and why is it Edge?
There's already a couple of documentaries on Edge, so that's actually not my answer,
Hmm.
because it already exists. Because that was
It
actually
was
what I
almost
first
a
thought
well
of. I'm
played
like,
card,
no,
Will
that's
Hilty. Almost a well played card.
yeah, but yeah, I was like, nah, I can't say Edge because that's already there.
If it's already there,
Um,
then yeah, good for him, right? So
yeah, no, Stephen Colbert.
yeah,
Hmm.
that'd
I
be
think would be really interesting to see
that'd be a
that.
great one. Yep.
Yeah.
All
Halle
right.
Berry.
I
Was that
liked
out
the
loud?
Robin Williams one earlier too. That was
That Dark Side of the Ring, that's turned into on Vice. Like they started doing Dark Side of the 90s and Dark Side of the 2000s. And
really.
there's a Shock Jock one that's pretty good. It's talking
Mhm.
about Howard Stern and um, the Shock Jock wars that went on. So there's some pretty good ones on that.
Nice. But I've watched. I like history ones too. I
Mhm.
guess that's the other thing. If I'm answering that from earlier, so yeah,
Cool.
or
Cool.
animals. I like nature stuff too.
Hmm.
Sorry. Okay, I'll stop now.
Yeah, because the Planet Earth docs, the
Mhm.
Blue
Sounds
Planet
great.
stuff, Life, all of that stuff is amazing stuff.
And
Snoop over the top of Planet Earth stuff is some
Oh,
of my
it's
favorite.
brilliant.
That's like
Love it. Love it.
it's
even
fantastic.
and and then like on kind of a more like fun side of that exact thing, the whole like 72 most dangerous animals on, whichever continent you're doing the
Hmm.
documentary series about, those are kind of fun too.
Hmm. For
Like
sure.
I remember seeing the murder hornet thing where they ranked it was like the fifth most deadly out of the 72 out of I think for Asia. And the documentary made a point. It's like, but don't worry, they're in Asia. They'll never be here. And then it was about 2 months later, they're like, murder hornets are in America. Like, what?
Mm.
It was a very bad time for me to watch that documentary.
Nice.
So,
Um, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to add to this. Some background for me with Pee Wee. The the two things that I saw Pee Wee in first. So, um, whenever we went to the video store back in the day when like video rental places were a thing, me and my sister, one of the big things that we liked to rent were VHS cassettes of fairy tale theater, Shelley Duvall's fairy tale theater, and Pee Wee Herman was Pinocchio in one of them. So that was the first, or Paul Rubens rather. So that was my first time that I had seen him. Then I don't know what it is, but Big Top Pee Wee was one of those movies that was on repeat at my house because there was so my dad had taped in a row Willow and Big Top Pee Wee, and we just used to watch both of those. And to me, one of the big takeaways from this is the devastating news that Big Top Pee Wee is number one, not a great movie, but also that it was the box office flop that it was and how much it broke his heart. Because I remember watching that movie and thinking, this is cinema. And after I watched after I watched this doc, because I watched this back in May, uh, I I went back and I was like, bullshit. There's no way. And I rewatched Big Top Pee Wee. I was like, oh, I see now. I,
You were caught in
I
the hype.
see.
You were
I
caught in the hype.
It does not hold up.
Mm.
And there's some very specific reasons why it does not hold up. But that's another one where it's like, Chris Christopherson, what are you doing here? Like, why are you here right now? But um, so Pee Wee was a pretty big staple in my house. Um, Devastated when everything that happened to him happened because after that, my mom was like, "Nope, we're
Uh,
we're cutting this off." Because but I was born in 1985, just
oh,
for just for
okay.
a heads up for people. So this was also thanks Brian. Just 1985, forget this guy. But this was
I'm done.
okay. This all of that stuff when that happened, that was I didn't really understand the true implications of it when it happened because as like a kid, that's like, oh, I don't really understand why this is such a big deal. And then when you grow up and you're like, oh yeah, you can't do that like in public like that. That's not good. So um kind of similar to what Brian and Wilden were talking about with the child pornography stuff. I wasn't aware that that was such a big thing or like a big deal. Um, I yeah, I just didn't hear about it as much, mainly because I think at the time Michael Jackson was the big person
Yeah.
that they were trying to
He
trying
he
to expose as a pedophile a lot, and that was the main one that I had heard about. So not so much about Pee Wee Herman, but I mean, this also kind of follows a trend where it's like, well, if if somebody is as involved with kids as he is, like it kind of is like a, if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. There's gotta be something there. And to Wilden's point, like the media likes to speculate on that, but to Brian's point, there was there was suspicion there, and it's kind of just interesting just to hear the toll that took on Paul Rubin, and understandably so that that would have a toll there. But I feel like both of these big incidents in this documentary were not talked about enough, and I'm thinking that a large part of it was um, Paul Rubin, who to me came off as a bit of an asshole in this, but it's it's part of the creative process where you want to have a say in all of that. But it still doesn't change the fact that he's kind of an asshole too. I can imagine that working with him can sometimes be a lot of fun, but it sometimes could probably be a nightmare as well. So
Yeah, but I mean that's like the good and the bad though, because that's what got
yeah,
him there in the first place.
yep,
Like
yep.
he wouldn't have been there if he wasn't like that. It's like the price you pay, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's well, and Hollywood is filled with all kinds of people like that, for better or worse. Because in some ways, there's a lot of people who take it way too far, and then there's some people who they just get a reputation for kind of being direct with people. Like, for example, Denzel Washington has like a pretty sterling reputation around Hollywood, but if somebody does something out of step or kind of does something to kind of like interrupt the flow of the film, he's gonna let you have it. So
Mm.
kind of like a select, like there's a time and a place for to act like that, but for the most part, got a pretty sterling reputation. um
There's real quick. There's a big difference between having a collection of,
mhm,
I don't know, what he considered art
yeah,
or kitsch or whatever, and actual accusations of any wrongdoing. Like
mhm,
pedophile is a far
mhm.
throw from uh you know owning what was the actual charge, obscene.
Obscenity.
Obscenity,
Yeah,
yeah,
right, like they're like didn't do anything to an actual person, even
yeah,
at the worst circumstance.
yeah. That's also the 90s for you in a nutshell too, right? Like the definition of obscenity in the 90s is way
Right,
different than the definition of obscenity now. And
right. It was gay and icky, and therefore obscene
mhm,
to some.
gay and icky, yeah. Hey, Wilden, if you're talking, you're on
I
mute,
think you're
Holy
or
muted. I think you're muted, Mike.
Nope, nope, nope.
no. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
there you go.
oh,
Yep,
we
we
Yep.
can
can hear you.
now, yeah.
How was that? Um, yeah, no, I kind of like I felt for him on that one too because like you could tell that it just the way he said is like, hey, say whatever you want. Like clearly people had in that era were giving him so much shit about that because it was like you said a lot different of an environment and I'm sure that that was part of when he got accused of the pedophilia and all that. I'm sure part of it was like, ooh, look at all this stuff. It's gay, and so they kind of just made that connection because that's a thing that will happen when somebody, is not very tolerant. And in the 90s,
Well,
a lot
especially
less
when,
people were tolerant. So yeah,
yeah. Um,
so that was 2002, but regardless.
yeah, like still, still an evolving landscape, right? So um still is an evolving landscape, one would argue. So overall, I enjoyed the doc, just getting to know, the person a little bit more. um I between the movies Mystery Men and Blow, those were two movies that was like, whoa, this guy's got some range and he can actually do something beyond Pee Wee Herman. And that was something that was really cool to see for somebody that I had kind of grown up with as kind of like enjoying a show. And um, like I didn't realize like it makes sense now. It's like, oh yeah, duh, this came about from a late night sketch show. Like that makes perfect sense. And then you just make some tweaks and all of a sudden it's a kid's show. Now it's like, oh, okay, cool. That's You could do that with just about anything, right? You could turn Winnie the Pooh into, you know,
You're
what
forcing
happened.
this one. You're forcing this. And I don't have a problem with it. I'm
Just
just
got to get on the checklist.
I'm critiquing your method more than I am the fact that you're bringing up the movie.
Dang.
Well, you know what? One thing that you're talking about here, Hilty, that is, it's triggering something for me is, he started this stuff on stage, and he said that when he went to Saturday Night Live, he just packed a bunch of his props, right? And his props weren't a lot, right? It's not like he was having something built. He was just this little toy that's been beat up or whatever. And the art of what they put out for the Pee Wee Herman show and to a certain degree in the movies, there's a lot of like claymation type stuff and almost like Max Headroom type stuff that was going on there. That's not that far of a stretch from the limited amount of resources he had as a stage performer. That set design of his live on stage thing was pretty cool looking, but pretty minimalistic. And they got a lot of mileage. Like Melo, you were talking about the when he's flying. I mean, he's just got a little. I mean, honestly, just a shitty looking. We barely put this together
Yeah.
little dummy
Yeah.
costume, but made it work. Like the vision to take limited resources and create something visual. I think that might stand the test of time. Just how much he got out of an idea, whether you like it or not, just the visual and the art itself.
Um, I watch a lot of documentaries, so just some that kind of stand out. There was one recently about the that soccer team in Thailand that got trapped in the cave. Um, that was fascinating.
Mm.
And the subsequent movie that came out afterwards about that was really great too. It's a Ron Howard movie. It's really good too. Um, like some classic ones like Grizzly Man on Wire, different things like that. Those are all good. Grizzly Man is about a guy who just he wants to study bears and he enjoys talking, just learning about them, and he goes to live with them and eventually gets killed by one. Because yeah, that's fuck around and find out, right? So, and then Man on Wire is about a guy who he walked a tightrope between the World Trade Center towers.
Oh yeah.
Boy, some of the footage in there, terrifying, just absolutely terrifying. So yeah, like I'm kind of in the same boat as everyone else, as long as it's like a good documentary and a good subject. I'll watch anything from a documentary standpoint. Um, my favorite documentary though is this little one called The Last Dance about the greatest basketball team of all time.
That is a very, very good one.
Very good one. I really, really enjoyed that.
Take it personally.
I'd argue rewatchable.
I would say that's
Yeah.
rewatchable as well. Yeah, I would agree with that, Wilden. That's a great point.
Disingenuous.
Wrap it up.
And then I guess the last one, Robin Williams would have been a pick for me that I'd love to see a documentary about. Like some people like that I'd love to see a documentary about. They've recently got one. Like there was one about Jim Henson recently that fascinated to hear just what is going on in this guy's head when he's coming up with these Muppets and all these different things. But also, I think someone today that I'd probably love to see a documentary about, kind of similar to this, Jim Carrey, especially kind of just the evolution that he's kind of gone through as a performer, and he hasn't had like an incident kind of similar to what happened with Paul Rubens, but he's had some pretty high profile events that have happened in his life. Um, so yeah, I'd probably like to see that. So um, thanks for watching the movie I picked, I guess, or the TV show I picked. And back to you, Tim.
Yeah. So, well, I had a couple of thoughts here, and one's, I think you guys are going to find a couple of these pretty funny. Documentary thing that somebody who did have a lot of trouble is Bill Cosby. If somebody got to the bottom of all that stuff, that might be a really interesting documentary.
There was
Um,
there was a documentary. It's called We Need to Talk About Bill Cosby,
hmm,
and it kind of outlines everything that happened there, and it kind of it they finished editing the doc, and the day like a couple days before the doc was set to be released, he was released from prison, and they're like, "Oh, we got to change this up a
yeah,
little bit."
interesting. I looked up the one that I was trying to describe earlier. You guys might remember that I said it was from Argentina, and they might have been called the Mendozas. This is how far off I was on that. They're from Colombia, and it's the two Escobars, Pablo Escobar and Andres Escobar. I was somewhere in the neighborhood there.
Ryan, how did we not get to Escobar?
I know. Should have gone.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty bad on my part. Clearly though, a wonderful documentary, and it'll blow your
Those
mind.
ESPN 30 for 30 docs are really good and really well
Those,
done. The
yeah.
Yeah.
the OJ Simpson one in particular, I just
The
couldn't
The
get
Bad
enough.
Boys one is fantastic.
Yeah, that Bad Boys one's really, really good.
I mean, like I
No,
genuinely it is. I'll just say I really
I mean
I
the
enjoyed watching that with you guys.
Bad Boys one is fine, but six beats two most days, so that's
And
all
then
good.
just in case you guys, if we get shut down here, as I was looking up the dates, 1985, 1991, and 2002, those three big dates, I put into Google Pee Wee Herman child porn controversy,
You
and
might
Google
want
made it very clear to me, be careful with what you click on. I've
yeah,
never gotten a warning like that, but Google was like, dude, you're
yeah,
so
safe
close right now to
safe
getting
search,
yourself in
buddy.
trouble. I
Safe
was like,
search.
hey, I'm not really. Okay, so this is the point where we would guess who picked this particular movie. We don't know who picked it, and perhaps that person's not here because we only have five of the eight. But let's go take some guesses. Hey, Melo, who do you think picked Pee Wee as himself?
Uh, yeah, man. There's no money on this, right? I mean,
Nope.
like, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
Yep.
no trophy,
Yep.
no none of that.
You're playing with house money.
nah, yeah, I mean, it sucks that you chose me first because this is all me, man.
Interesting. Brian, who do you believe picked Pee Wee as himself?
So I feel that we had a situation where we added the other two movies that we had picked from the original three, correct? And when that happened, Mike Hilty had to repick because I'm guessing he had a movie that shared with someone.
Hmm.
And when he repicked, he picked Pee Wee Herman himself because he had recently watched it because it was just recently released.
Okay.
So Mike Hilty.
A vote for Melo from Melo. A vote for Hilty from Brian. Mike Wilden, who do you think picked Pee Wee
Interestingly
as himself?
enough, before this discussion started, I had it narrowed down to Melo or Hilty.
Hmm.
Um, I am inclined to believe Melo, but I'm gonna go with I'm just gonna say that my answer is what I had decided on before we started guessing, which was I was gonna say Hilty.
Yeah, he kind of gave it away last week that he knew an awful lot about this, but that's exactly what Hilty does. He's pretty good at playing this game. So I almost want to pick anybody but Hilty because he likes to throw curveballs. Um, and it would
hold
be
on.
like Melo to say the truth.
Tim. I don't know if you know this. I've
I'm gonna
seen a
say
lot of
Hilty.
shit. So, like, I see what you're saying, but okay, yeah.
I'm gonna guess Hilty. Hilty, who is your guess for who picked Pee Wee as himself?
I mean, I guess I'd be a gentleman to at least throw Melo a bone, so I will vote for Melo, I suppose.
If you picked this and you guessed somebody else, that would be very honorable. Is the person in the room? Please raise your hand if you actually picked this movie.
Why would I pick this movie?
Oh,
when
it is
when
Melo.
it's a TV show.
Wow.
Son of a bitch.
Why would I lie?
Yeah, like he's the one that said. Are
There's
we
no-
betting?
on it?
I double checked that there was no bullshit.
As soon as he said it was him, well, it's like, well, it's clearly Melo, but
Good Lord. No irony at all. No irony from the beginning of this episode at all.
I did, for what it's worth, I did downplay like how much I actually enjoyed this. And it wasn't like Pee Wee was a big influence on me or Paul Rubens or whatever, all of that. Like, but I genuinely enjoyed this take on his life and the character and all that stuff. So
same. I again don't need to see it again. I enjoyed that I watched it.
Here's the truth. I was kind of upset like when it came up. I was like, man, I gotta watch this 4 hours again. Like I really liked it the first time, and I'm like, all right, well, I definitely got to be here, and the whole, all of that, because, this was me, guys.
Yeah,
all right.
I did write an article about this for one of the websites I write for. So, I
feel hoodwinked. I feel absolutely hoodwinked.
Well, that's
all right. Well, I'm into the magic bag of movies that Nikki printed out for us because she doesn't want to play along with this game anymore. And
real quick,
what's that?
I know who picked last week.
Yes, Mike Wilden picked A Quiet Place.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So
picked it.
The movie for this week, going a little different direction here, is Sinners from 2025. Sinners.
I watched this about 3 weeks ago.
I have recently watched this as well, and I know Brian and I were texting about it. Has anybody not seen it?
Does that
does
messes up the guessing?
Does that mean that I'm going to get accused of picking this movie? Like,
you seem very defensive.
So you picked this.
Seems very defensive.
You haven't seen it, Hilty?
I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Next week we'll be talking about Sinners. That'll do it for this episode of the BTB Movie Club. Hope you guys have a great week. Take care.
That'll do it for this episode of the BTB Movie Club podcast. Thank you, as always, for listening. We know we enjoyed ourselves, and we hope you did too. Have yourself a great week. We are partnered with the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.